This is the state of my collection at the end of 2024 video. I have a separate video where I'm talking about 6 watches that I wear the most, but today I will show my full collection including vintage watches, and watches I don't wear or wear very rarely. I will break down the collection in different categories. Categories like vintage, digital watches, Japanese watches, my top and most worn watches. It wasn't easy to get them all together in one place, so I hope you will enjoy the video. I did review many of these pieces on the channel, but let me know in the comments if you have any questions about any of the featured watches. I also want to mention that this is the result of my 20 plus years of watch collecting hobby, buying, selling, downsizing and all in between. So let's dive in. Let's start with vintage watches I have in the collection. Most of these watches don't get wrist time. Here are 2 non-popular vintage brands and I call them twins, Butex and Technos. They've been in my collection for as long as I remember and I don't even remember where I bought them. But I remember buying these identical straps for them. These watches are a good reminder of what men's watches used to be in the 60s. Both are 30 mm in diameter. Another vintage from the 60s is this Doxa that has a surprisingly large 35 mm case for that time. If the watch would be in a better condition, it would make a perfect dress watch. I love the beautiful blued hands with the minute and seconds hand being curved at the edge. But as you can see, the case and the dial are in a pretty hard shape. Next vintage is also from around the 50s, but from a totally different region. It's a Rodina watch made in the Soviet Union. Rodina was the first Soviet automatic watch and was produced in Moscow. Rodina means motherland or homeland. The watch seems to keep a good time and even tritium loom still works, not wearing it anyway. Another vintage I got from an antique store a long time ago, it is Bulova from the 60s. It's gold plated and the back case signed as a gift to someone back in 1964. I don't wear it, so honestly don't know why I bought it. Moving to the vintage watch I actually wear, it's Girard Perregaux Gyromatic, also from the 60s. That's a very good and somewhat legendary vintage watch from Perregaux. It's a 34 mm watch and the condition is very good for its age. This is a Raymond Weil Dress 18 karat gold plated watch from the 80s. It's a quartz watch with a 30 mm case size and it's 5.2 thin. The numerals are unusually interesting. Now here are my digital watches. This is the Timex and Huckberry collaboration. It's the IronMan Flix reissue and a very cool digital sports watch. Also super comfortable on the wrist. Another digital watch is the classic DW56000 G-Shock. Only it's the limited edition retro colors model. I really like the color and this is my favorite G-Shock design. Another G-Shock is also a limited edition model. It's a Casio collaboration with Bamford, DW6900BWD. It was an impulsive purchase. I got an email from Casio Canada about the watch's availability and bought it right away. A few minutes later the watches were sold out. It's not the best watch in terms of readability, but I like the color combination. Here is another digital watch I have. It's a vintage or neo-vintage Lorus that I bought brand new with a box and packaging. It's a very cool slim and small watch, but I don't wear it and it needs a new battery as you can see. Moving on to my Japanese watches. I sold all of my mechanical Seiko some time ago. I am talking about SPB 143 and 2 Baby Alpinists. I was frustrated with the movement accuracy, but I still have a few quartz watches. Here is the first Seiko I bought about 13 years ago and I was wearing this watch a lot. Funny thing, this is the watch I got the most compliments on from strangers. It's a solar powered Seiko chronograph. The watch is 43 mm in diameter and quite large for me. It's a very good watch for the money. Unfortunately, the watch has stopped working recently. I assume the solar components need to be changed. I'm thinking of sending it to Seiko. Let me know if you had any issues with the solar watches and how you fixed it. I also bought this Citizen about 12 to 13 years ago at a department store. It's a Nico drive and it still works. I like the Retrograde 24-hour hand and large date. I think it's a very cool design from Citizen. Another Citizen I got as a gift from my wife about 12 years ago. Apparently it's some kind of limited edition for Canadian department store Hudson's Bay. Not sure if this is the correct info, but that's how I remember. The watch is also Eco Drive and also still works. Another Citizen is the Neo Vintage Promaster from the 90s. I bought it in a very mint condition with a box and papers and even the original receipt. Very cool small diver watch from Citizen. Also needs a new battery. This is a very cool Seiko. If you are looking for an affordable good quality dress watch, this Seiko is perfect. A very elegant low maintenance 34 mm watch that is only 6 mm thin. Just need to replace the battery every 2 to 3 years. These 2 Timex Weekenders are simply the best all-rounders for the price. You can buy them for like 30 to 50 bucks and they will fill your life with the loud sound of quartz ticking. Oh, and don't forget about Indiglow. I am not quite sure why I have 2 of them. This S3 Tradition VAER, a very affordable Rolex Explorer alternative. It's a quartz watch with 100 meters of water resistance and classic field watch design. Here are my two similar Eterna Artena Quartz dress watches. I bought them a long time ago. I guess I was looking for a dress watch, very slim and very attainable quartz watches from a very cool brand that is not in the best place right now. With Eterna, we are moving on to my top box with the watches that I wear more often. Here is my old friend Eterna Soleure. It's a 42mm dress watch that is powered by Sellita automatic movement. The watch design and finishing is really great. I wish the model was smaller. This Bulova Lunar Pilot Moonwatch is the first release of the popular model from Bulova. I bought it after it hit the market in Canada, and despite the large case, the watch was getting a lot of wrist time. Since then, the model evolved to a smaller size and different variations. I wish Bulova would make it even smaller and with mechanical movement. Speaking about the moon, this is the MoonSwatch. Omega and Swatch collaboration, the Mission to Jupiter model. Do you remember the craze surrounding this collaboration? I recently walked in a Swatch boutique in Toronto, and they had most of the models available to buy. Another old watch that was getting plenty of wrist time is this Hamilton Khaki Field Automatic in 42mm. Great watch, has been through a lot, got a full service done by the Swatch Service Center last year. My only regret is that I didn't get the 38mm back then. This is my beloved Longines Dolce Vita with the quartz movement. I love how this watch wears on the wrist, the curved case helps. This particular dial style design is not that common, and that is what makes this watch unique for me. Take a look at the combination of Roman numerals and polished markers. Also, it's a great dress watch. Another Longines that is kinda rare is this Heritage 1918. This is the model that is based on early 20th century wristwatches known as wristlets at the time, when people were converting their pocket watches to wristwatches. They are also known as trench watches. The blued hands with brown numerals look beautiful against white porcelain-like dial. Next watch is this Timex Q Peanuts 70th anniversary Snoopy reissue. Very nice and fun watch to have. I bought it when it was available in stores, but apparently it was a limited production, and now I can see people are trying to sell this model way over retail. This is my Tag Heuer Aqua Racer Quartz Blue Dial. This is the previous Aqua Racer generation. I bought it on eBay, and I have quite a story about the watch. I will leave a link to the video about my problem with the watch. Because of all the doubts about the Aqua Racer authenticity, I went on and got another Tag Heuer Aqua Racer. This time from an AD in Toronto and with the stainless steel bezel. Love them both, and both are my kinda beater watches. This is the Omega Seamaster Professional Midsize with the quartz movement. The watch is from the 90s, and I have the original receipt stating the date and where in Toronto the watch was bought. Love the dimensions and the jumping hour hand function. Because of the size, I share this watch with my wife, and she actually wears it more than I do. Another watch that I share with my wife is this Cartier Tank Must Large. This is the regular quartz model, not a solar bead. I wanted this watch for a long time, but it wasn't getting much wrist time from me. My wife, on the other hand, wears this Cartier pretty frequently. By the way, would you be interested to see my wife's watch collection? Let me know in the comments. Now, before we will jump to my top 5 watches, I want to share watches from another category. Here are the watches that were sent to me for review. Sometimes brands send you a watch as a loaner, and you have to send it back, but sometimes brands send a watch for you to keep. These watches are kinda part of the collection, but at the same time they stand a bit apart. So these are the keepers I have in my collection right now. Let's start with Seagull. This is the legendary Seagull Chronograph 1963. When the Seagull team asked which watch I would want to review, I instantly knew the answer. Of course, classic 1963 in 38mm. This is a very nice and affordable classic modern chronograph that looks like a vintage watch. Another watch I was curious about is the Seagull Ocean Star Diver in 40mm. I think it's a very nicely designed diver with 300 meters of water resistance. The watch is not expensive, the quality is good, and it is also great on the wrist. Another cool diver is this Zelos Swordfish. It's a titanium diver watch with a cool design and insanely cool lume. A very wearable and good looking diver. Speaking about the lume, here is a cool looking Velimerk world timer. The watch is not an actual world timer, but you can track another time zone with the rotating inner bezel and some math. The watch is actually well made considering the price, and the best feature is the lume. This is the Tuseno First 38. As the model's name suggests, the case diameter 38mm and powered by the Japanese Mecha Quartz movement, which makes it a very nice and affordable chronograph watch from Swedish micro brand Tuseno. Blued chronograph hands are a good addition to the design. It was one of the first micro brands I reviewed a while ago. I am not sure if the brand still produces this model. Another cool micro brand from Sweden is Soleure. This is the Soleure Amorous, which is a rectangular dress watch. Thanks to its curved case, the watch fits great on the wrist. The design and finishing of the watch is really impressive considering the price. And with 50 meters of water resistance, this dress watch can be a great everyday wrist companion. MEC XP-MS 1001 is a titanium rectangular chronograph watch, and it's a very unusual one. The watch showcases a unique time display using CNC motor-driven LED screws. The watch is rechargeable and can run for about a month on a single charge. Speaking about unusual watches, this Sega design Blue Planet would take the crown as it took the GPHG Challenge Award in 2021. It's not an everyday watch, but a really cool piece to have in the collection and definitely a conversation starter. Another interesting watch from Tiga Design is this Series Z Edge in titanium. A great looking tonneau-shaped skeleton watch that's fun to wear if you're into that kind of design. Weiss a Damascus 87 is one of my favorite micro brand watches I reviewed. Weiss is the micro brand from Thailand and their watches are impressive. The watch is made of nicely polished 904L steel and has a beautiful enamel dial. The case design and proportions are close to perfect. Now to my top and most worn watches. I made a video about my most worn watches not too long ago. Since then there have been some changes. Here we go. I will start with the Tudor Black Bay 58 Blue, absolutely fantastic watch for the price. What's even better today is that you can get it with the discount pre-owned. Not such luck back in the days. I had to wait about 3 months to get it from AD. Great everyday watch and fantastic vacation watch. It gets a lot of wrist time. This is the Omega Railmaster Steel on Steel. This is the watch I was thinking about a year before I pulled the trigger. It's an unusual, understated and beautiful field watch from Omega. Very tough and wearable. A strap monster, but I settled with the bracelet after different experiments. The watch is in my weekly rotation. This IWC Mark 18 is my most worn watch for the past few years. Has a few quirks, but I absolutely love it. The deep blue dial with white contrast numerals and indices and the clean design make it sort of a dress watch for me. IWC is not a hyped brand, and it's another plus for me with this watch. If I were to buy a Mark today, I probably would go with the newer and upgraded Mark 20, but this Le Petit Prince has its own charm. Now my newest addition to the collection is the legendary Moonwatch. This is the Omega Speedmaster Professional Hasselite version, the new and upgraded model. This is the watch that I was very conflicted about. And now it's becoming one of my most worn watches. The watch is a strap monster and I am enjoying playing with it. And finally my top, and the watch that was my grail pretty much since I got into the watches more than 20 years ago. The Rolex Explorer 2 1657 Zero Polar. I got the watch a few years ago and this is the watch that I wear the most in pair with the IWC. I love how it goes with everything. It's one the less recognizable Rolex, which I am also happy about. Oh, and I almost forgot. Here's the oldest watch in the collection. The Pocket Omega watch in the silver case. Absolutely gorgeous and cool watch. These blued hands, Roman numerals, small subdial with the seconds hand and white dial is absolute class. The coolest part is that you can open the back case to see the movement. So this is my full collection as of the end of 2024. I have big plans to trim the collection significantly and sell watches I don't wear often. Let me know your thoughts on the collection, which watch or watches you like the best. Which would you sell and which would you keep? Looking forward to seeing your comments. Thank you for watching. I will see you next time. Bye now and happy collecting.